Okay, so now we begin with one factor experiment, very small number of factors, and we do everything that we did before: experiment, design, ANOVA, diagnostics, test, and so on and so forth. The thing now we are going to do is we are going to have a small number of factors but large number of levels. What we have finished is large number of factors but 2 levels. That's the minimum anyway. Right? So now what if you have 15 levels or 3 levels, at any number. So that's what we are going to do. We are going to start with one factor just to give you all the concepts and then go into more factors. So if you have just one factor and you had many levels, then your model is like this. That y depends upon a mean plus something that depends upon the level plus the error. Alright? And right up front we are going to assume that we are going to replicate each of these. So remember we first did 2 raised to k design, then we do 2 raised to kr design. Here we are just going to get right into replications. Okay, so R replications and several levels, all of that. The main thing we are going to assume is that the levels add up to 0, basically the effect, so that everything else, whatever doesn't add up, goes into the mean anyway, mu. So because there is a mu here, the errors will add up to 0 and alpha j's will add up to 0. If you add up all y's, they will all go into the mean. Alright, so if you take yij and take all the replications and you add up everything in this model, everything will add up to 0 except for the mu, and mu will be added up ar times. Now what is r? R is the number of replications and a is the number of levels. So let's take an example. Actually, example might be next anyway. Let me take an example anyway. If it is next, is that suppose you have 10 levels. You try some factor, some 1, 2, 3, and maybe 10. There are 10 levels. That is, A is 10. Now each of those experiments you repeat 5 times, and R is 5. All right. So you got 50 values. Right. You add up all 50 values and divide by 50, you will get the mean. Right? Now here is the notation though. Whenever we add some things and we take a mean, the mean is indicated by the bar. By bar means mean. But the mean can be taken along many dimensions. Along the replication dimension or along the level dimension. If it is along both dimensions, it is dot dot. If you just take one level and add up all its replication and get the mean, that will have here, the first one will not be dot. The second one will be dot because you are taking only a class of replication but not for the level. So you will see some numbers where it is not, both are not dot. But right now, both are dot because we are adding along both dimensions. The replications as well as along the levels. So here is another example, y dot j, y bar dot j. Here we are taking the level j, keeping it fixed, but we are adding all replications. I is the replication. And we are dividing by r. So you had in the example I just gave you 5 replications. So you take those 5 values, add them up, divide by 5, you will get 10 means like this. Right? And those means, actually, if you do this here, 1 upon r, you add up, you get basically r mu plus r alpha j plus this will add up to 0, and so you get mu plus alpha j, and therefore alpha j equal to by bar dot j minus mu, which is by bar dot dot. So this is how you can calculate alpha j for j equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. So here is an example. We have code sizes and in this case there are three processors R, V and G, and there are five measurements on each processor. Alright? However, these are not related horizontally. That's important. So this is not the same workload which is doing. So this is like, if you remember, unpaired design, except that there we had pair, which means 2. Here we have 3 columns. Right? So the processors have 3 levels. And they are not paired, and so there is only one factor here. If they were paired, then it will be 2-factor design, which will be the next chapter. Right now there is only one factor that you are varying, R, V and G, and this is like repeating a replication, means you just take the same workload and run it again and so on and so forth. So so for this processor, you did 5 replications, you added them up and took the mean, that came out to 174.4, and therefore the effect, and then the overall mean, by the way, you add up all of these numbers and you get the overall sum, and then the overall mean is 187. You subtract 187.7 from 174, you get minus 13.3. That is the effect of this processor, R. Yeah.
So here we have 3 different processors.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What is the factor? The size?
Processor is the factor. So processor is the factor and it has 3 levels. R, B and G. You are trying to compare processors. There are 3 processors. So there are 3 levels. This is one factor and 3 levels, as opposed to, so far we talked about 2 levels, right? So now, from now on, we are going to talk about more than 2 levels. So this is 3 levels. And we also started with the question of replications. I could have done without the replication, but then there won't be any errors. So that's not very interesting. So right now, we have replications, 5 replications. And so when we are adding along this dimension, we are adding processor dimension. If you are adding along this dimension, that will be the replication dimension. You add up the whole thing, you get 2815, and divide by 15, you get 187. Similarly, you get the column mean, and then you subtract this 187, you get the column effect. Alright, so in this design, what we are saying is, and actually it is said in the next slide, I'm going to say it here, is that the average performance is 187.7, but if you use processor R, your performance will go down by 13.3. If you use processor B, it will go down by 24.5. If you use G, it will go up by 37.7 with respect to this mean. Now, since this is code size means lower is better. The best processor is V. Yeah.
So you said that row does not represent the code, right? So it's just like taking the number of code lines in 5 different programs.
Yeah, I mean that is all. Right now, just basically those 5 lines. Those could be the 5 different programmers programming the same thing. So they came out with different number of lines, and this would be some other 5 programmers taking the same thing. So these are not the same programmers, these are not the same replications, so they are different. This is just an example, by the way, just made up number. I made up those numbers. Right? Case study will come in a minute, which is really the real thing, then we can see. But this is basically, these are 5 values for this processor that we came up with by replicating. Alright, one thing you should notice though is that these 3 things add up to 0. Alpha 1 plus alpha 2 plus alpha 3 equal to 0, because that was one of the things we had put on the design, that we will, if you remember this one, alpha j equal to 0. So alpha 1 plus alpha 2 plus alpha 3, all 3 add up to 0. So everything goes into the mean, which is, so basically 187 is the mean, and so this is the difference from the mean. So this is exactly what we are saying here, that R requires 13 bytes less, B requires 24 bytes, and G requires this, and so on and so forth. Now we can do some interesting thing with these errors. First thing is we can calculate the errors, we can calculate the sum of the squared errors, and then we can do more. So let's write down. First, this is the Y matrix, this is the mu matrix, this is alpha j's, alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3, and this is EIJ's, the difference. At 15 observations, we have written it down like this. So sum of the squared errors is simply these 15 numbers added up. By the way, you will do this in Excel, so you will have see all this thing, and then so this would be SSE would be 94,365. Now the variation of y, the total variation of y, if you notice yij squared, you add up, you will get mu square plus alpha j square plus eij square plus 2 times mu alpha j plus 2 times mu alpha ei, mu times eij, and then 2 times alpha j eij. You add up all of them, everything will cancel out except for mu squared, alpha j squared, and eij squared. The first 3 terms will be non-zero, everything else will be 0. Why? Now let's see why is this term going to be 0 when you add up? Because alpha j's add up to 0. Mu will come out, right? Here, why will this add up to 0? The eij's add up to 0. And this will add up to 0 because because of both. So anyway, so the thing is the cross product terms will all cancel out, and all you will get is total y is SS0, which is this mean, plus SSA explained by A and E explained by E. So if you subtract SS0 from this side, you can say that SST equal to SSA plus SSE. That the sum of the total squares, which is basically the variance of y, before you had the model, variance of y, variation of y, because we haven't divided by any number, so it's not variance. Total variation is equal to SSA, some part is explained by the factor and some part is not explained by the factor. This is very similar to regression thing, right? And so then you can do the percentages and you can say what percentage is explained by the factor and what not. So basically we did SS0 calculation from the mean, SSA calculation, SST calculation, and so on and so forth. So process explained only 10%. 86% is explained due to experimental errors. That's not very good news. So now the question is this statistically significant? Now, thing is, statistical is a different thing than importance. See, the thing is, from the real world, we know that 10%, if the process explains 10%, I really don't care, or I may not care, unless this 10% is something really important, right? But let's see statistically. To do it statistically, we have to go back to our analysis of variance, which we did for the regression. And so we have to have degrees of freedom, we have to have MSE, we have to have everything that before, like before, F test. So how many degrees of freedom are there? But SSY, we have AR degrees of freedom. Those are number of observations. With SS0, we have only 1 degree of freedom because mu is the all that determines that. SSA has only A minus 1 degree of freedom because they add up to 0. If I give you A minus 1 of alpha j's, you can figure out the last one. A minus 1 degree. So errors are the rest of the degrees of freedom. And so now that you know the degrees of freedom, I'm sorry? Little a? Little a is the number of levels of the only factor here. And so the F test basically would require you to calculate this ratio, SSA divided by mu A, SSE divided by mu E, where mu is the degree of freedom. Right? And that ratio statistically should be, if it is more than F value, read at whatever confidence interval you want, at mu A, numerator degrees of freedom, and mu E, denominator degrees of freedom, then you say it is statistically significant. Alright? Similarly, MSE is the SSE divided by mu E. So this is all repetition of replication. That's why I'm going a little bit faster here, because if you did regression, you remember all this. And you have a table which is very similar to like regression, where you have sum of squared errors, SS0, so you subtract those two, you get SST, and then SSA is calculated from alpha. Second column is percentage variation, the total is 100%, and therefore A is SSA upon SST times 100, error is SSE upon SST times 100. The degrees of freedom are written down as here. Mean squares are simply SS divided by the degrees of freedom. And then the ratio of these two is compared with F value. So for that example that we had a minute ago, let's see, we wrote down the sum of squares, we wrote down the percentage variation, we already know that it is 10% is A, errors are 90%, degrees of freedom is, let's carefully see how many degrees of freedom there are. So A is, how many, what is the value of A in here? 3. R is 5, 15. So Y have 15 degrees of freedom. Right? But Y bar dot dot has 1 degree of freedom. So SST has 14 degrees of freedom left. Out of that A has 2 degrees of freedom because there are 3 and they are up to 0, there are only 2 degrees of freedom left, and so 12 errors have 12 degrees of freedom left. So then the mean square you get it by dividing SS by the degrees of freedom. So 10,992.13 divided by 2 is 5496.1. Similarly, that number divided by 12 is 7860. Now the ratio of these two means A upon the errors is 0.7. If you want degrees of freedom, I think it must be 90%. You get 2.8, but when you look into the table, you have to look at 2 and 12, right? 2 numerator degrees of freedom and the 12 denominator degrees of freedom. The F table has 2-dimensional table, right? You will get 2.8, and since it is less, therefore it is not significant. So statistically also it is not significant, and it's also not important. Just like regression now, you can do the assumptions and visually verify them. The assumptions we made are, first, the factors effects are additive. Anybody remembers multiplicative, log and other things, right? So here we are not doing any of that, so we are assuming that they are additive, that the errors are additive, that the errors are independent of the factors, that the errors are normally distributed, and that the errors have constant variance. These are exactly the same assumptions we had made for regression. So there are exactly the same tests that we will do. First, we will plot residuals with the predicted response, and if we see no trends, we say they are independent. Particularly if the scale of errors is much smaller than the response, that saves us, right? we will do quantile and quantile plot for linearity and things like that. Okay, so here is the for the example that we had. Here are the errors on the y-axis and the predicted response on the x-axis. Now the y-axis is 160, the x-axis is 320. Are the errors negligible? No. So we failed that test. Are they normally distributed? Almost. Okay. So that is the conclusion, that we are failing the test of errors being, well, that was not an assumption. Basically all it is saying is, assumption was that the errors are independent of y, which they look like independent of y. So that assumption they pass, except that they are large. And so really we need to do a better model or find another factor that will explain some more. Now that we know the errors, we can do the confidence intervals on everything. Okay? And the confidence intervals are basically, all you need is the standard errors, the standard deviations. And once you know the standard deviation, these are the formula. For mu, the standard deviation is SE square upon AR for alpha j. For the contrast, anybody remembers contrast? You did contrast for the regression. So alpha j times Hj, if you have some coefficient that will add up to 0, then that is called contrast. You can do that. And SE square is simply the sum of the squared error divided by the degrees of freedom. Alright? So once you know the standard deviations, you can write down the confidence intervals as before, and so it's very easy. So basically in this example, SE comes out to be 88.7, mu standard deviation is 22.9, for alpha j the standard deviation is 32.4. This is just straightforward writing the formulas and putting the numbers together. So then you can use the t-value to do the confidence intervals. There are proper degrees of freedom you have to use, and generally that number is equal to the error degrees of freedom, which in this case is 12. So t is 0.95, 12 is 1.782. By the way, 95 is because 90% confidence interval, right? And then you get the confidence intervals of these things. All of them are, what can you say about alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3 from the signs? Yeah, they're not significant, so that's good. So it's not different from the 0. Now we just, for example, we have a what we call contrast. Contrast is H1 is equal to 1, H2 is equal to minus 1. So we just want to see the difference between the first processor and the second processor. That would be called alpha 1 minus alpha 2. There is a formula for contrast. There is a confidence interval. They are not different. Similarly, alpha 1 minus alpha 3, alpha 2 minus alpha 3 you can do, they are not different. Okay. Alright, so unequal sample sizes. Now the complication is that you don't have the same replication for all three processors. On processor 1 you did 10, on processor 2 you did 5, on processor 3 you did 3. Alright. So we will assume that this is what we will do. Rj times alpha j add up to 0. This is the assumption. If you define like that, then the rest of the analysis becomes easy. The total number of observations is simply equal to Rj's. You just add up the replications. And then these are the formulas for mu, alpha j's, and so on and so forth, and degrees of freedom. Alright? And the analysis of variance remains exactly the same way before. And so here's an example. For the first processor we have 5, for the second processor we have 4, for the third processor we have 3. We take the column sum and divide by the exact number of numbers added. So this will be divided by 5, we get 174. This will be divided by 4, so you get 186. This will be divided by 3, you get 150. You add up the whole thing, as up to 2067, you divide that by how much? To get the overall mean? 5 plus 4 plus 3 is 712. Divide by 12, you get this. Right? Now you subtract this from the column mean, you get the effects. Alright? Now the effects don't add up to 0. What does add up to 0? Is if you do 5 times this plus 4 times this plus 3 times this, that will add up to 0. But anyway, now you know the effects, and then you can do everything else, which is calculate the errors, sum of squared errors, degrees of freedom, the F-test, and the standard deviation of effect, confidence interval. So I mean, all of this is so straightforward that I have put there for completion sake, but this is just a repetition of regression. When we did the regression, we didn't assume the number of levels, etc. But now we have that, and so everything else is same. So to summarize this, when you have just one factor, you can put a model like this. You can now compute the effects. You can compute the degrees of freedom. You can do the ANOVA table, standard deviation of error, confidence intervals, and so on. And let me just go through the homework, which is basically we removed one more line here, one number here. So the question, you have to do the whole thing for one factor.